What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 74 with Miguel Del Barrio. I hope I said that right. I don't have the roll of the tongue. Yeah, my Irish Italian kicks in, but I'm excited. A huge thank you to him first off before we get him in here for stepping in and being a guest last moment. Thank you to everyone who reached out. There was tons of people who did. That shows there's a lot of interest in this podcast, and that means more to me than you would ever imagine. So thank you so much for the people who are reaching out and being like, how do I get in? How do I get in? I am booked absolutely solid from now till the end of this month. There are some people that I did send messages to, so check your inboxes because I may have an opportunity if you're free on a weekend because I may need someone to have a pre-recorded episode. So just putting it out there. And it's one of Miguel's guys. Hint, hint. Yeah, so check out the links below for everything ABJ. Merchandise, so support the Patreon. I'm going to be completely honest. Right now, it's super tough for me. Out of a car, out of a job, just trying to grind this for the rest of this month because at the end of the month, one of my amazing listeners has gifted me a trip to the UK to go to All In. I've never been to a wrestling pay-per-view. I've never been to anything major. I've never been out of the country. So I'm going to my dream venue to see what might be the biggest wrestling event that's ever existed. So huge thank you to my support and listeners. If you do buy any merchandise, tips, donations, Patreon support, it's essentially going to that trip. There is a t-shirt, an AEW t-shirt that says Wembley ABJ with a little Union Jack on it. If you want to commemorate that experience for me, the t-shirt is available along with a bunch of other ones in the links below. Also, make sure to support my guest links below. Follow them on social media and subscribe to the YouTube channel for Frontier Pro Wrestling. Their YouTube channel is up and going. You can check all their matches out that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. And make sure you support and get their subscriber numbers up. Let's get them past that 500 mark because 500 is the new threshold for monetization. So help them hit that monetization goal, and let's have some fun here. But before we get started, the reason why this podcast is still rocking and rolling, SVW, you see it in the bottom corner there, Suplex Vintage Wrestling. Guys, it has finally happened. A whole store fully dedicated to vintage pro wrestling. They said it can never be done, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Suplex Vintage Wrestling is a store curated by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Located on 5th Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just one block south of South Street in the heart of Queen Village. Their selection of vintage wrestling apparel under one classic roof includes the classic designs from your favorite wrestlers from the Golden Age, Attitude Era, Internationals, and more. And if you're tired of watching premium live events at home by yourself, then SVW's got you covered with the best watch party since your friend Kyle's party when you were 12. And if shirts and watch parties are not your thing, let's not forget their selection of figures, replica belts, trading cards, from their t-shirts and hats to rare wrestling memorabilia. They have something for every wrestling enthusiast out there. So what are you waiting for? Check them out on Instagram at suplex.svw, or every single post I do, I tag them. So just click and follow it, and it's in my bio. As well as go to their website at suplexsvw.com and let them satisfy your pro wrestling needs. And if anybody is interested in being a sponsor on the podcast, hit me up as well. I do have opportunities for sponsorship where you'll get some ad reads, and I will plug and promote your stuff. I put a lot of content out and a lot of clips, so you will be seen, I promise. Nightbot is already banned Ricky Price. Nightbot, me and Ricky are cool now. You don't have to mess with him. I know I put it in the algorithm to attack Ricky, but calm down. All right. AI, he's my boy now. We're cool. Well, without further ado, let's bring in my guest, pro wrestling extraordinaire, as well as promoter extraordinaire, as well as the owner and founder of Frontier Pro Wrestling, Miguel Del Barrio.
Yeah, baby. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Anthony. Listen, it is an honor to be on ABJ. Finally, this one's a big one for me, guys. As soon as I could step in, I could. Thank you for being here with us, and I am so happy to be here, man.
Well, first off, let's thank Millie, the
Millie,
queen of the Northeast indie scene. Go check out her at From the Left Side podcast page on Facebook. She was the one who put your name out there, and you jumped on it, and here we are. Thank you to Millie. You. Yes. Man, what an experience, man. You've been around quite some time here. You've literally done everything in this business, and we'll touch into that. But, man, I'm super excited to have you in here. Let's get the first one out of the way here, man. When did you fall in love with this business of professional wrestling?
Oh, man. So, realistically, it's kind of like a two-parter, but we'll make it one. Realistically, my dad was a pro wrestler when I was young. I lost him when I was 11. I had the honor of watching a couple before he retired. But I didn't even care about wrestling when I had him in life. Unfortunately, that's the story we have to tell. But as soon as my dad passed away, a lot of his buddies that did wrestle with him reached out and say, "Hey, kid, I know your mom's not going to agree, but do you want to do this?" And at that moment, I don't know what clicked, man, but I'm like, you know what? There's anything that I'm going to feel connected with my pops, it's going to be now. And here we go. And at 11 years old, I had a favorite wrestler and I had my pops, and I said, I'm going to do this thing, whether it kills me.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Eddie Guerrero, man. All day, every day. Eddie Guerrero, to the end of the day, will be my guy. And I had the honor of meeting Eddie at a very young age before he passed. Yeah, he was actually close friends with my dad. And every now and again, when Eddie was working in New York, we lived in Jersey, in Plainfield, New Jersey. And every now and again, when Eddie worked Madison for Vince or anything like that, there'd be slight chances he'd come and I'd see him and got to ask him questions. But at that time, Eddie was just Eddie to me. I wasn't into wrestling. And it wasn't until after I really got into it that I'm like, damn, Eddie's like the greatest of all time in my book.
Yeah,
you know?
He's really, really up there on that list. 100%. I never met him, but I met Vicky and I met Shawl. His daughter? Shawl. I met them. They're very, very nice. Shaw was a sweetheart. Very, very nice girl. Man, I will say this real quick. Growing up in small coal region, Pennsylvania, you don't get to experience a lot of different cultures. And when you do, they're predominantly white culture. It's Spanish. The Spanish and stuff didn't come in until much, much later. So growing up, just Italian, Irish, Germans, Polish, all that is kind of just what's available. But the wrestling community, I will say, has really shown me a lot of Spanish culture. And I'm putting it on a limb here. The best wrestling fans are Spanish people. Bro, I work for a promotion in Jersey called IWA Jersey. Their fan base is predominantly between Mexican, Dominican, Puerto Rican. They're bananas. They get so into it, and they're the best crowds to work for. Yeah. And the Sanctuary has the Hazleton community is really getting behind them, and they're really turned into like a really split crowd, and it's been so much fun. So growing up, man, like wrestling is a great way to experience other cultures and like finding your other favorite wrestlers, and that representation is so important. And Eddie and Ray were huge people to help put that luchador wrestling on the map for WCW and stuff growing up.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, and it's so good that you see it that way. Sometimes, like, when you've been doing something for so long, you tend to, I don't want to say complacent, but you tend to just follow the everyday quo, you know? Yeah. And especially you, I know you've been doing this for a while, and especially me doing what I do, you got to always take everything that you do and just realize what you got going on. Because I, too, have learned so much from, like, strong style and Japanese and Chinese and, like, a bunch of different cultures that I would have never known different from different if I hadn't paid attention to what I do day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? So I agree. I think wrestling brings so much to someone's life. And for anyone that isn't watching it now, you probably should start.
Yeah, you're missing out. And maybe you can agree with this or not, but I feel like why a lot of people miss the boat with wrestling is that when they watched it when they were a kid, they found out it wasn't real, and then it turned them off, and they said it's not worth watching because it's not what they felt like they were duped. And I feel like it's cool to, like, I understand their business was set on those standards, but I think in today's standards, people are so, every day you're waking up and there's a scam email, there's a scam phone call. So when people feel like they're being scammed by something, they want to get away from it. So when I tell people now, like, well, that's fake, right? I'm like, sure, but do you like theater? Do you like movies? Do you like entertainment? Do you like art? Right. They're like, yeah. I'm like, wrestling is a storyline. Wrestling is live theater with action. Like, it's, I hate to use the coin, but it's stunt fighting. You know what I mean? It's so if you go into it with the idea that you're going to see a production and a play, and if you buy into the characters, you'll have a better time. Instead of going in and being like, look how fake this looks, you go in with a different mind state. And every non-wrestling fan that I've told that to has walked out a fan of the industry, and they love everything about it.
And that's what I say. I say that to jokes to a couple of my friends who still to this day, like, you're still doing that fake stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Are you still driving cars out of a big plane like Vin Diesel clearly really did in his movie? No? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah. So growing up, when did you transition from, the being the fan and growing up watching, your father and stuff do it to, like, I want to train and start doing this myself?
So after my father's passing, unfortunately, 6 months later, I think, or maybe 7 months later, Eddie passed too. So Yeah. So that was really I lost my idol and then my role model all in one shot, all in one thing. So it really did. And then my mom was never a big fan of wanting me to do it. I really transitioned when I went to watch my first show. I was about 12 years old, 13 years old. There was a couple it was just a local promotion. It was called RPWF, who since then is not around anymore. But when they came to the YMCA in Stroudsburg, which is where I was attending after school program, they had one night they had their show. They brought in Kip, so Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. And at the time, I think they were Voodoo Kin Mafia and TNA.
Billy Gunn is insanely huge. Like, you don't realize how big he is until you meet him in person. He's a monster.
I was lucky enough to have my friend at the time. His dad was the director of the YMCA who did this raffle, and his son ended up winning. I mean, I don't know if that was cheated. I don't know. There's still rumors to this day, but he ended up winning a dinner with the wrestlers. So when that happened, he had a +1. So instead of bringing his dad, he said, "You know what, Dad? I want to bring Mike." So we went to go get pizza and stuff, and we ate with the wrestlers and just talking to them and hearing their stories and the interaction. Then Billy was there too, and he was just saying like, Sean's doing this, and at that time, I didn't really realize what he was talking about. But then now later, I'm like, oh shit, he was talking about Shawn Michaels. He was talking about his time with Hunter and shit like that. So, with things like that, that's when I was like, you know what, man, like I want to do this. Like I love the show. So if this is where I'm going to be in 15 years, where this brotherhood and this small little restaurant we were eating pizza at, if this is where it's going to be in 20 years, that's what I want. And the rest is history from there, as they would say.
Now, what all promotions did your dad work for?
He worked for a lot. So by the time I got to actually watch him, he was just doing small promotions. I can't remember the name of them exactly. It was in Jersey, and they're far gone too. They're no longer around. But he was working in Jersey, and I only remember watching him a handful of times because he was retired. As far as I can remember, he would only come back every now and again. As my mom used to tell me, like when the promoter really needed someone to step in. So that's why I also do the stepping in whenever, because good things happened to him in those times. I remember, and he was really happy with what was going on at the age that he was at.
Have you ever heard his story of how he broke into the business and stuff like that?
It would be my grandpa. I never got to meet my grandpa. He was gone by the time I was born. He had passed away. But my grandpa was a mass wrestler. Don't ask me a name because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he was a mass wrestler in Puerto Rico. And he was trained by I believe it was Carlito's father. So the Colon family trained him.
Yeah.
So he did a lot over there, and he was a big sensation over there. And my dad used to say, I'm never going to be as good as your grandpa was, and stuff like that. But he wore a mask and everything like that. So, that's where he drew it from. So, like I said before, when my dad passed, I kind of felt that. So I was like, you know what? My dad did it with his dad. I think it's just, it's just fake.
Yeah. And honestly, man, like, I know a lot of the questions that podcasts ask get a lot of heat of saying, oh, you ask these questions and they're stupid. And but how you just said about your grandfather and your dad, could you imagine if podcasts existed and you can go back and watch a video and hear your dad's story that's going to be encapsulated on the internet for the rest of your grandkids, kids, like they could always go back and click this video. And anyone who's ever sat in 70 some episodes I've been doing this, that's a piece of history that'll always be around. Yeah. And they may be super, super simple and stupid questions, but it's a story. I rather ask the questions I ask than hear you in character or hearing about we talk 45 minutes about a match that's coming up this weekend that after it airs, no one's going to talk about ever again.
They're definitely ain't gonna be talking about me after that air, so it's okay.
We're gonna talk about your story. It's getting encapsulated here. It's on wax, baby.
What I'm saying. The match questions, all those, you hear enough of that, guys. Like these type of questions are because I agree. I wish some type of internet or video was around the way it is in wrestling now, because I could go back and hear my dad talk about it.
And that's why production's important too. And a lot of promotions miss the boat on that. Like every match to a talent being recorded is history for them. It's something they can look back on and be like, that match was dog shit, or man, look how good I got since this match, or look at like it's that evolution. It's a beautiful business. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
But so transitioning, now you're wrestling and stuff like that. How long into your journey of wrestling before you decided, you know what, I'm going to also dive into this promoter field and start your own promotion?
It's funny enough. It took me, I feel like And everything happens for a reason. My fiance has made me a very avid believer in that. And she's the reason this whole thing still happens. I'm telling you, it's behind every dumb man comes a really smart woman, is what I say to this at this point. But I was wrestling. I only had the promotion about 2-3 years ago. It's when we really took it serious and started. It was right before COVID. It was named something different. COVID came around. We rebranded, and now it's been going good. So let's see, 14 years. So 11 years in. So I did a lot of learning before I actually said, you know what, I'm gonna try it. But my real motive, and I'm pretty sure it'll be your next question, so I'll just throw it out there and we'll segue. My real motive for starting my own promotion was I really don't like that there's certain promotions, and I'm not mentioning names, and I won't, but there's promotions that have really hardworking guys, but those guys never get time. That was the biggest motivator for me. And I'm not saying that I was the greatest guy not being used. That's not by any means saying what I'm saying. What I was saying was there was a group that I was with that at one point, we felt like we were giving everything we could at training, everything we could behind the scenes, whatever the promoter needed, and went out there and had the matches that they wanted us to have, regardless of the outcome, because you're not supposed to care about that. But we told these great stories, but still got treated as if it didn't matter. So at that point, I was like, you know what? There was one guy that took an opportunity with me, and his name's Sean Hardy from 1CW, so shout out to him. I'm sure he'll watch this because he watches all my stuff. If that man hadn't taken me aside and showed me something different and what a really good promoter is, and later on I met better promoters like Alex Watt and a bunch of other people there that I know I'm going to forget to mention, but, you know, there's guys that do believe in that. So when I got into wanting to do it, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a beacon of hope for those who think that their time is going by them and they're not doing anything. So,
yeah. And there's that it really, the one thing I will say that I do not envy of someone running a promotion in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area is how do you push everybody? Because our area, we are absolutely spoiled with good talent. There's like any weekend you can go to a show in Northeast Pennsylvania or New Jersey or anywhere and just, you're like, wow, there's some future of the business, guys. Like, people are really impressive. And it's just like, man, how do I utilize everyone here and make sure everyone gets an opportunity?
Yeah. And it really is hard. And I'm still learning, you know, like wrestling, I had my time and I'm still wrestling on the cards, you know, and I'm wrestling for other promoters. But as a promoter, like you kind of run into that. The only answer I have, and I may be right, I may be wrong. Other people might have different ways, and again, it goes with the whole people thinking fake. I think great storylines in a business, ones that continue, when to cut them, when to keep them going, is your way of promoting everybody at one time. If not everybody, most of them. You know, whether it's a win or a loss here, but that guy really looked awesome versus that guy. When is he going to get another shot? I don't give it to them for two shows. Hey, man, remember when he did that? Why isn't he doing it again? Okay, well, guess what? Here you go. Guess what? Caught up. Now they're going to pay to go see the guy that in their mind should have been there from the very beginning. I think that's the best way I can describe it. And with the storylines that I kind of build up, I kind of give everybody their dues because everybody's putting in work and everybody's promoting and everybody's doing their thing and getting out there and trying to get their names out. I know more than anybody how hard it is to get your name out there and you feel like people don't listen. I try to listen and I try to give them something to work with. Absolutely.
You had a show that I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but I heard about it afterwards. And then I seen the footage and I was like, holy shit. And I honestly, man, I think you were the first person first promotion to really start showing the Northeast wrestling scene that, hey, you can mix things together that are not enhanced, that are not wrestling related. And it will most likely be a hit. They did it at Rusty Rail with Vinny Glamrock when he first put on the first brewery show. Now there's brewery shows pop like LVAC did one. They just did one over the weekend with Smash. The brewery, that's what Matt's made in heaven. Beer and pro wrestling. Tony Deppin's Brewfest they're doing no ring shows there. Those Fightacular shows. They did one at the Brewfest. Like they're finding ways to mix that generation together. Music and wrestling. So like a band plays, wrestling, band plays. Great idea. But the one that I feel has knocked it out of the park better than any other show was when you ran that show at the con convention with all of us nerds and everyone cosplayed and the cosplay wrestling is getting huge. People love it. A dude comes out dressed as Spider-Man and wrestles someone dressed as Batman. It's golden. It's great.
And you know what it is, and I love it. And I thank you so much for that, man. It really does. More than anything, like obviously we did the show and it came out amazing. And we have some little.
The crowd was crazy.
It was great. And you know what it is? I tell everybody all the time, if you don't try it, it's always going to be a no. So when we went and started having the idea of doing it, I'm like, all right, let's see. My fiance too, and she had to say I'm sorry, and she doesn't do it very much. Say I'm sorry and tell me I'm right. But the day of the show, there wasn't a big line, and we were like 10 minutes out. So I was sup, Lucius? Love you, brother.
Crow. A lot of talent showing you love here tonight.
Oh, thanks,
Tony Bambino saying that one of his favorite places, he treats you like family. This guy's smart. He works for you at MIT.
Thank you, guys. Oh, MIT. Amazing man right there. All those guys. Thank you so much, guys. I love you. But when we did the anime show, like 20 minutes before, nobody was lining up. I was like, oh, man, we might be a bust here. I think 10 minutes in, a couple of my wrestlers come to the door like, oh, they're flipping out, and they have their phones flipped over, and they're flipping out. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, boss, we're all excited. Like, aren't you excited? Like, you did this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He shows me the video footage. I'm like, where's that at? He goes, it's right outside the door, man. Go look. I come outside the door, the same door I just walked through 10 minutes ago, right? Making sure the sign was still lit up. Maybe the sign went off. And So I go back and I see this huge line and I'm like, oh my God, like what just happened? I'm like, well, there's people crashing into people. There's people coming around with food. Like we got to organize this line. Like what other event is going on over there that this line is mixing with? The guy that was working the con goes, sir, that's all yours. And I'm like, oh, okay. Holy crap. And I'm like, all right. And he goes, well, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try to organize it then. And he goes, yeah, please. That's what I came to talk to you about. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I'm the guy that's in charge for the hotel. And they send me here to talk to you because it's becoming a safety hazard. I'm like, what? He goes, the guy, we came down and tallied up. In line, you have about 250 people. Right now, that's what you have. And I know that when they get in there because of the size of the room, it's going to block the exits. And we got to just tell you to keep it organized. Surely enough, when we opened gates and we got everybody in, we didn't take a total tally. But he said that all exits were blocked. We had to close doors and not allow the congoers to come in. And we were only allowed to let people in as people walked out.
But people were still waiting outside, I was told. And when 2 people went in, 2 people immediately took the spot.
Absolutely. And it was wall to wall. People were sitting on the floor. And I love it. And I think, like, we're all fans of something, So I just took, you can see it on my hat, I just took something else that I was a fan of and said, let's see if it works. And fortunately enough, everybody at this con was like, hey, like I said, there wasn't much chatter about it on their sites either. But then when it hit. And after the show, but it's a good show, man.
When are we doing it again?
We'll see you next year. So when I went with my fiance, we were really happy about it. All the boys in the back had, we had a hug fest and we're like, we did it, guys. Good job. We went to go get, just give the room back to the lady that did it and helped us get it done. And when we come up there, she goes, hey, here's your passes for the rest of the weekend because they had given passes for me and my family, like my kids and stuff, to enjoy the next day. And she goes, so I'll contact you in 4 months. And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, I'll contact you in 4 months so we can sign on the dot again. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, honey, you've literally you got the guys to come down and tell us that we needed to shut your room down for the time being. We need you back next year. And at that point, I got emotional. I was like, there's no way this is happening. And there it is. So we're actually going to have that show again. I don't want to lie on the date. I believe it was the 10th. We're going to have the same show again in September, on September 10th, that first Saturday there, or second Saturday. And it's going to be really cool, man.
That's super sick. I'm proud of you. Unfortunately, I got some possible news today about a job that I was applying for and then didn't get it. And I was pretty much told, hey, a whole bunch of shenanigans happened, but they called back today and they're like, yo, we're going to give you the job that we promised you before. The only problem is it's weekend nights, so it's going to take me out of the wrestling industry for quite some time, but it's definitely needed because I need to get back on my feet and start making some money here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go like this stuff and buy the merch, guys. Buy the merch. If you're a wrestling fan, listen to me. This is coming from Miguel himself. If you are a wrestling fan and you're buying our merch, Stop buying my merch and go buy his. He keeps bringing you stuff that you miss. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Ricky Price says, I will be there with Pride Championship in hand. Ricky says the 9th, and Donnie says, I'll make sure I'm there. I'll make sure I'm free.
September 9th is probably the date.
Listen, I'm going to say something right now. Donnie, for a show we talked about in the podcast, he thought he was doing like an Italian thing, and he came out wearing this like orange shirt, and I told him it was like a bowling shirt, and then roasted him on commentary all night, calling him a bowler. So I truly feel, Donnie, if you come in and you wrestle, you have to cosplay as Fred Flintstone. You and Nate have to be Fred and Barney. That's just the rules. I don't make the rules. You just have to follow them. So the bad fellas, if they're getting booked on the 9th, I feel that the only way they're allowed to wrestle is if they agree to you that that's what they're dressing up as.
I might be dropping more information than I've already revealed, and I will. But if they're available, the Bad Fellas will be at Colossal Con for sure, 100%. And yes,
and they must be the Flintstones.
Yeah, the Flintstones are something that we want to see, man. I don't want to just see the Bad Fellas, Mario and Luigi anymore.
No, it's got to be the Flintstones.
Yeah, it's got to be the Flintstones.
I hate this running joke.
We got to do the Flintstones, and we got to do somebody else coming in as Teletubbies. I don't know, man. Something childhood.
Teletubbies. There you go.
There you go.
I love it. I love Donnie. They're congratulations on him and Nathaniel. They're gonna have little bad babies coming up soon.
Absolutely, guys.
It's exciting.
I appreciate the time they've given us. They've only been with us for a short time, but
hardworking kids.
Yeah, very talented. I tell the guys in the back all the time. Because I have a lot of talented guys, man, and a lot of them do the flips and the flashy stuff. And back then, Metal Maniac. I don't know if anybody knows that name, but I love him to death. But he used to tell me, you can do all that stuff, man, but if in the blink of an eye, if they blink, it's over. Like they didn't catch that. So I always tell the guys, like, hey, man, just slow down and let them appreciate what you do. But you got to know how to work a crowd. And those Bad Fellas, man, all the hype that was behind them coming in to me, like that they were coming to work our show, was absolutely accurate. They're awesome guys. They are Bad Fellas. We're in that ring, and they definitely love to work their character, man.
Yeah,
love them right.
Those former backbreaker high ground kids, they know how to story tell. They're a good group of people up there. I'm a fan of everyone that comes out of there. Millie in the chat saying, "Hey guys, the reason this conversation's happening right there, that's the reason."
Thanks,
Millie put this together. Well, speaking of your talent, let's dive into that. Who are some people that, if you tune in on a Frontier Wrestling show, or if you buy a ticket and come see, who's some of the talent, who's some people you're excited about that's on your show, and who are some people you really want to talk about while we're here?
All right, so
I'm putting you in promoter mode now.
Oh yeah, now it's promoter mode, and now I gotta watch. I love everybody. I'm gonna start out with I love everybody.
If you don't get called out, he hates. No, joking.
If you don't get called, you realize how many people we have in the back. You know what it is. But you guys know I love you, and they know it. I know they know it.
And also, thank you, Lucius Crow. You are on the list, brother. I have a whole board behind me with about 75 people. You're on it, so be prepared for ABJ making that call soon.
Listen, well, you know what? Just here, he just helped me out. We won't go in any order or anything like that, so people don't think I'm picking here. Lucius was the first one to comment. There was the last one. Lucius Crow came to our last show. It was the first show I ever had him on, and god damn it, what a talent. From character to his promos. Listen, if everybody cut a promo like that man does,
and his voice.
Jesus, like the guy's so talented, and his look is just amazing. Along with his tag team partner Joey P, they make up Royal Apocalypse, and I didn't really know what I was dealing with until I put them two together, because they've known each other for years. I've known Joey for years, but it was my first time at that show meeting Lucius. But we had talked a lot in the year before, and he's become a very close brother of mine. He's someone that I know I can go to for advice that I love very much. He's become my brother. And that was the first time we met. And he stuck true to who he was. Everything he said in our messages on Facebook was who he was. And then he got into the ring. And I was just like, wow.
And he works his ass off on his own brand. So if he goes out and promotes a show, or he's a part of a show, he's bringing an audience, because he's not someone who just shows up, wrestles in a ring, and leaves. He works on his social media presence outside of professional wrestling, and he cuts really good promos and puts a lot of good content out. That helps then drive people to go see shows. Yeah.
And that's why I say, man, that promoting stuff will get you far, man, cutting those promos. But that's Lucius. young talent. We'll start in little categories. So young talent, I got guys like Ricky Price, who I met last year. I heard about him through somebody else, and then the kid was just posting our stuff, and he had never been on our card. And to me, I remember me being that guy. So when I gave him the shot, he had actually just come to help out with the ring. And I said, hey, you got a match today. Really? Got your gear? Yep, cool, awesome, bro. Went in, killed it. Awesome, here we are. MIT.
Super hard worker. Love him.
Absolutely. MIT. Super smart kid. Super, he criticizes himself a lot and has a lot of self-awareness of what he needs to get better at. And I'd rather have that than someone who doesn't care. So MIT, you're an awesome talent, man. And if anybody has a card MIT match, you gotta catch an MIT versus Ricky match. I think that's what do you know? That's what our next show is. That's right. So if you're there, you'll catch.
They've already had a Bard Burner once before in a one-on-one. So I'm sure they're going to tear the house down again.
Absolutely, man. Luca Mancini is another good one to throw out there.
Luca is so. You want to talk about? All right, I'm going to put him over real quick. You want to talk about a guy who gets underutilized? I feel, and I'm not saying this to throw any shade or any digs at anybody, but he's always the guy who gets thrown in a stable, and it's a stable full of really, really talented people. But the problem is when you have so many talented people in the area, stables are good if the stables promote it right. But also he's one of those guys that can stand on his own, just like everybody else in the stable he's with. So it's hard to get over, but he's just so, I feel like, underutilized. He's a person that if I had a promotion, I would be putting a title on him and pushing him because I think he's very good at what he does.
And listen, I know that there's times, like I said, I'm the type of guy that when I do these interviews, I'll say how it is. And it's not because I trained Luca, and it's not because he's my dude that he's wearing that belt in FPW. He's wearing that belt because when times got hard for me, and it was getting harder to run a promotion, and everybody else bailed out in the first class of what we were before we rebranded. The only guy that stuck around, even during COVID, was Frontier was Luca. You know, and because of that, not only has he earned a spot on the roster, but he's a brother to me. You know, and my kids call him Uncle Luca, and my daughter who trains, Sage, she's a pro wrestler too. She's just waiting to turn 18 to wrestle here in PA.
The next Billy Starks,
and she's wrestling in Jersey. But here, when they're training here, you know, she says of how she's inspired by Luca because of his technical and submission knowledge of the game, and that's something that
it's crowd work.
And the way he works the crowd. Like, I taught him everything that he knows, but the one thing I didn't teach him, I taught him everything he knows when it comes to being a wrestler. With being Luca Mancini, the essence of being Luca, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, and the way he wrestles, that was all him, and he had it in him all day long. He just needed that platform, which is why I'm telling you guys, if there's any promoter that has Luca in a stable and or just kind of throwing him and stuff, give him a spot to shine and give him a main event spot or something up there. He's gonna blow your boots off, and those crowds are gonna keep coming back.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another thing too. Remember, I said earlier that I have a message out to somebody for a possible spot if they're free.
Oh,
Luca, check your inbox, Luca.
Check your inbox, Luca.
Other names out there.
Yeah, there's just so many. And like I said, we already went over the bad fellas. Joey P's a friend. Let's go old school a little bit now. I mean, they're my thing. The reason I'm going to mention these guys is because as much as old school as they are, I guess you can consider them. There's old school guys that are just getting to the end, but then there's old school guys that are willing to still be in it to help younger talent. You know, so guys like Joey P, who I've known for 4 or 5 years now, that when I met him, you know, he didn't really need to give much time to me and stuff like that, and he was a bigger dude, but he did it for the younger talent. You got guys like Diamond City, who, funny story about Diamond City, I was afraid of them for the longest time growing up. Yeah, so I was a small kid. I've gotten a little bigger, but when I first met them, oh man, how old was I? I'm 30 now, so I had to have been like 22 when I first met them. Maybe a little bit older, but they were these big dudes, and everybody said Diamond City, Diamond City, Diamond City. And at the time, I think Born to Wrestle was around, and then you have Blue and Gold, who were also around, and there was those 3 guys that built up the tag team scene around here. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I thought they were these mean guys and stuff, and then a situation happened that they left the titles of a promotion, and you know they were kind of a free agent here, over here in the indie scene. And I said, you know what, I'm going to contact them. Then I met them, and they're like, "Hey man, what's up?" I'm like, "What?"
Sweetest humans ever, and they're people you want in your locker room. They're
absolutely.
Yeah.
And they were, hey,
I'm a
man,
big
what's up?
Diamond City
What do you
mark.
need tonight? Yeah, what do you need tonight? Awesome. And then even after my matches, and they're the guys that are always by the curtain. And you think they're not watching, but they are. Like, I've seen them several times at my show. Grab one of those guys like Ricky or MIT or even my daughter in Jersey when we've been on the same card. When she's gotten to the back, they'll pull them aside like, hey, you did great. Here's what you need to work on. And then they work on it. Hey, awesome this time. Work on this a little bit more. Like, those minds are important to have in a locker room. The egos you could do without. Throw all those guys out. I know I have. But those type of guys like Diamond City and stuff that are on the Frontier, they have the Nepo Cup tag team trophies right now. They're repping our tag team division hard. Like, those are the guys you want to have in a locker room and on the roster.
Yeah. Now, another cool thing about Frontier is not something that a lot of promotions don't do, and they don't. Not only that they don't take it very seriously. You have a pretty solid women's division.
Yeah, phew. And it's hard, man. It really is hard to get the women's division started. And I'm gonna say thank you for that compliment. But you gotta be honest. It's super hard. And I know there's other promoters, one by the name of Caden out there somewhere. There's a lot of guys that want to build a women's division just like I do, but you know, the women wrestlers that are around, if there's very few of them and hard to get them open because now women's wrestling's blowing up as it should. There's so many women that you can't get a hold of or you can't get on your shows or they're already booked, but they all deserve the chance. We just did a main event, our first ever main event, women's main event. And in my opinion, it was a great match. I loved it, and the crowd loved it. They were either behind Journey Burke, or La Fantasia Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
One newer blood and one a little bit older blood there and old school. But they had a great match, and the fans dig it, and they all deserve opportunities to shine. And if you don't give them that opportunity, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, Ronnie's very talented, and Journey, I think, is going to be a very big up and comer. Keep your eye on her. She's been getting a lot of work, doing some cool shows that she's going to get a lot of exposure soon. She's very, very talented. The thing is women's wrestling got so big and so many promotions didn't take it seriously. So promotions just started making all women's promotions, and they can put on 9, 12, 10, 12 matches a card, and it's all women, and they're killing it. Like the one I'll throw the roses to, that Capital City in what are they, out of Delaware? Is it a Delaware promotion? Amazing. That roster's stacked, and they're putting on some dream women matches.
I love CCW was in Delaware for a little bit. Now they're over in Jersey at the Monster Factory. They're awesome too. And we'll keep that under wraps, but they're doing an awesome job with getting these women up there. Like if you look at, I think, was it Kaylin King, Miss King? She's an Impact right now, part of the Coven. She she made her big thing, I think, that when I first heard about it in CCW, and she was killing it down there. The Renegade Twins, I love them to death.
They're awesome.
Girls. Awesome girls. No offense to the Bellas, but look out, because those girls get on a main roster and stay there. They're going to make a legacy that you're not going to believe.
Yep.
And there's so many good women that have come through these lockers that you kind of like, I don't know, you gotta have a mind to put these women on a grand stage, as they deserve to be there, because they put in just as much work, if not more, than us guys. Because if you need a spot for a guy, that's always going to be open. A woman's spot, if it's not on the card at all, or one match, that means it's either two female versus each other, or 4 when it's 2-on-2. If that spot's filled up, you got to look for another promotion, because you're not going to wrestle that month in that town.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So what do you have coming up for Frontier that people could be looking out for?
So we have our show coming up in the VFW Post in Scranton, VFW Post 25. We had our show there last month and did great. So we're going to be coming back in that. Oh, man, I'm horrible with dates, guys. I am so sorry. Whoever's watching in the comments, if I'm wrong, please correct me. We're going to be having one on the 18th or 19th. I think it's the 18th. It's 18th, yeah. The 18th, we have one coming up there at the VFW Post. It was a good little crowd last time. We're going to try to get it bigger and try to kind of make our more of an appearance there next year for sure.
August 19th.
August 19th. There you go. 19th. Don't come on the 18th because there'll be nobody there. Come on the 19th. And it's a good show. We're a good family show. We got that coming up. And then the big one, September, they corrected me already. Jeez, I know you have them, man. I'm horrible with dates. September 9th. I think it was September 9th. That's Colossal Con at the Kalahari. That's going to be a really good big event. That's the anime convention. And then, I don't know, man, if we can make time for you on a Saturday, we got the 21st So last year when we did well at the con, we had another con come up from the rival hotel, I guess you could say, because there's 2 water park hotels up there, up here in the Poconos.
Yeah, there's a huge storm coming in. Yeah.
So they have.
Miguel might have just went to Oz. I think we're in the Northeast PA scene area, and there's a giant storm coming in, and we're under tornado watch and stuff like that. So yeah, we might have just lost Miguel to that lightning strike. While he's waiting to get reconnected here, I'll just back him out. I'll do this. Let me share my screen, and where are we at here? Sorry. Is it working? Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm working on the fly here right now, so give me a second. There it is. So Frontier, let's go through some stuff here. You can check them out Frontier Wrestling on Facebook. The match here, MIT versus Ricky Price. And once again, this is going to be Saturday 19th, the VFW Post 25, 2291 Rockwell Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Tickets $20. Kids under 8 for free. Doors open at 3:30. Bell time at 4. Next up, we got the Bad Fellas versus Diamond City War Machines. Love everybody in that match. That's going to be really fun to watch. Ronnie versus Marcos right there. We got Matthews versus Malik. I hope I said that right. I think that might be. Oh, nope. Zach Sander, baby. And Fly Guy Eli. I believe I've seen him before. I think he's out of Flower City, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Victor Shine versus Lucius Crow. Haven't seen Victor in a minute. Excited for that one. And I think that might be it for match announcements. Yeah, that'll do it for the card that's announced. I'll give it a couple minutes here. I'll do some free flowing, but make sure you support Frontier Pro Wrestling. They're working really hard, and like I said, there's the Northeast wrestling scene. If you're in Pennsylvania or you're on the outskirts there by New York or New Jersey, listen, New Jersey, you guys are doing a great thing. New York, killing it as well, but travel down, man. Come see some of the things that are going on down here in Northeast Pennsylvania. They got a lot of talent in the area, a lot of great shows going on. I promise you there's not a stinker amongst them. You can go to anyone in the Northeast area and you're going to have a blast. There's a lot. I could sit here and go off for months. You have Battlefield, you got PPW, you got Smash, High Tension, Sanctuary. I'm sure Orochi, I believe, is coming up soon. That's going to be maybe PA Jersey area. Yeah, there's a lot. But make sure you support them all. There are a lot of really good stuff going on in the area. Make sure if you can't do it, seek out if they have social media. A lot of these promotions are putting the work in on the production side, so you can go and follow them. I'm actually going to do this real quick while we have it up. Yep, the lightning took his power out. His Wi-Fi router is rebooting as we speak. So I will keep rambling here until he can come back online, and we'll close this out properly. But while we're here, let's do this real fast. Everybody in the chat, I'm going to drop a link, and we're going to share my screen once again. We're gonna have a little fun here. Here's what I need from you guys. If you're watching this, I need you to click that link right there, head over, and let's get Frontier Pro Wrestling a couple more subscribers here. They're currently at 166. So go over and give them a subscribe, and let's get more people subscribed to this channel and show them some love. Like I said, there's a tons of videos here, everything from their last show that you can check out. There's the Journey versus Ronnie. There's your Stax is in that match. Chris Cade and Victor Shine and Miguel himself is in that match. Valor and Honor, MIT versus Malik. There you go. Look at these. All this is on here, man. So go check it out. Luca right there versus Sage. So a lot of cool stuff happening. Make sure you go support their YouTube page. Give him a subscribe. Oh, he's back. Here he is. I wasn't looking at my screen. Yo, that lightning struck, and you immediately were gone.
Yeah, it was rough. Like, the Undertaker doesn't want me to do this interview, apparently. I don't know
well, listen, the storm isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to be like this all night. So anything else you want to get out there before we close this out? Or I thought you went to Oz. I thought the tornado picked you up.
Really, the last thing I want to say, guys, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, man. I've been trying to get this one out for a while, man. And anytime you need anybody, I got some names for you. But names to look out for, obviously, is Ricky Price, Luca Mancini, Mitt, MIT. You know, there's a bunch of good guys in the area. But, guys, please keep promoting this podcast. We need to keep these things in good standing as well as pro wrestling. Without you guys putting our stuff out there and getting our names out there, we don't do what we love to do. And keep coming out to the FBW shows and keep supporting indie wrestling because we need to eat too.
Yeah, and indie wrestling encompasses all of that, and I feel like more promotions like yourself that show value in content creators and podcasters and people who show the love to the indie scene, but then get treated like stupid fan marks and they just get treated like they're scum, isn't good, because once again, you can go and put your ads in the newspaper, but most people read the newspaper aren't into that. But we have a direct audience of pro wrestling fans, and we try to funnel them to the right promotion. So I appreciate you saying the kind words, and like I said, send some talent over. We'll get some more people talking.
Absolutely. And one last thing, I'm sorry, bro. I'm going to throw it out there because you did that, because I have to be that guy. But anybody that is saying stuff like that, man, you keep doing what you do. At the end of the day, the only people that are saying that are the people that can't generate what we've been generating this whole time. So let the haters keep on hating, okay? And keep doing your thing, man. Because as long as we're here, we're going to keep setting the bar high so they can keep up. All they got to do is keep working, but they ain't going to reach it. But thank you so much, Ant. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. And I'm definitely looking forward for the next one, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely run it back. And hopefully, you're safe during the storm.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Love y'all.
Well, that'll do it for the ABJ podcast. We are back tomorrow at 7 p.m. with one half of the funniest tag team in wrestling right now on the indie scene, the Stepdads with Wade Kruger. He'll be hanging out with us on tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And then we actually changed this. I'm going to be changing this there. Thursday's episode will not happen. We're going to move Thursdays to Wednesday because Thursday was too small of a day for this guy. Wednesdays are bigger. They're more explosive. I needed to make all the room possible for Big Dan Champion. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. So 3 episodes back to back this week. So we're going to hit you Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Guys, once again, too, if you are watching this on the video side of things, whether it be Facebook or Twitter or Twitch, or please head over to the YouTube side. That's where we're really close to getting the monetization. So show us some love there. And the audio numbers, I'm going to be honest, they're dog shit. After taking that break and coming back, audio plays are way down. So put the ABJ podcast in your car while you're driving and let's get the audio numbers up. Leave a review in the Q&A section on Spotify and tell me what you thought of the episode. Feedback is always great. And also make sure you leave those 5-star reviews if your podcast platform provides it. That's going to do it for the ABJ podcast. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock with Wade. Here's some music by the Converse Kid, Billy Trey, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.